Okay, hello and welcome to H&D Abroad.
I'm Herman.
And I'm Dee. And on our channel, we are all about charting the journey of our journey and the journey of other couples, Black couples that are moving abroad, that are considering a move abroad, their plan A for having a healthy lifestyle and creating generational wealth. So, if those are topics that are of interest to you, please remember to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for when we upload new content like we're doing today. So, welcome. And I am super excited because I have made another connection as part of the Exodus Summit group, another YouTube channel that is all about a very similar topic of leaving the United States for a country that gives them more freedom. And let's hear their story. We're going to invite Eugene and Allum into the live. So we're going to say right there. Oops, let's use the screen. Okay, great. Welcome.
Hey.
Hi. Thank you for having us.
Great. Glad
Absolutely.
to have you here today. Well, I guess take a minute and introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about yourselves.
I'm
Go first.
Eugene,
I'm Allum.
and we're
All right.
Exodus Life.
We're still working on that.
So are we.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about our Exodus life and like how you got to the point of being like ready to, you know, go from a nice to thinking about moving abroad to yeah, this is our plan. We're moving forward and we're going to put all of our effort into this process.
Well, we started maybe about, I don't know, 5 years ago with a plan to RV full time.
Mhm.
And this is, of course, before the pandemic. And we wanted to travel, still work, but kind of make work where we travel. So we were going to work remotely and travel at the same time. And that looked like a great idea. We can RV throughout the US. Then the pandemic came and we're all in the house. I was working from home. And
I
you,
wasn't.
no, he wasn't.
My work didn't change. I was still go, go, go.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So RV, he was going to retire fully and I would just be working remotely. But with the pandemic, we all kind of got stuck in the house except for him. And YouTube just started suggesting Black people abroad. I
Hmm.
felt like it was just like this thing that just kind of happened.
Hmm.
And we started to really consider if that's something that we could do, like go abroad. And we changed our plan to from RVing full time to moving abroad and doing that. We were first going to move to Rwanda,
Yeah.
and we visited there in June of 2021.
21.
Hmm.
And that was originally the plan, was to Rwanda full time. And that changed to why? We don't have to go to one place, we can go to multiple places.
Mhm.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And then I discovered Exodus Summit. And of course, Stephanie Perry affirming that I deserve a life of ease. I
Yes,
don't have
ma'am.
to work. I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. And then that
Mhm.
just changed everything for me because I'm like, yeah, I don't have to do anything I don't want to do.
That's
How
right.
can I make that happen?
Absolutely. Wow. So, you know, when you are in spaces, especially travel spaces, I I started to feel like, well, women are, all about this travel life, about this move abroad life, because that is what was kind of centered in the space that you and I started in. What I wanted to find to kind of get my husband, kind of more acclimated to the process was for him to see other couples. And so, like they say, if you don't see a lot of it, become it. And,
Right.
and so,
Yeah.
how did you work with Eugene or bring him along? Because when the timer goes off on Saturday morning, Herman says, "Is that Stephanie Perry?" Like, she is a name in my house. How was it for you guys in, you bringing him into, or kind of keeping him in the same loop as you're in this kind of singular space to, making this more work as a couple?
Well, we talk about it all the time. It wasn't really difficult to bring him along because if he's not 2 steps behind me, he's 2 steps ahead of me. So we're usually right there on the same wavelength. If I'm bringing him an idea, he's usually like, "Oh, I was just thinking about that. That's a good idea," And I'm watching Stephanie Perry usually. He's there in the room, but he's not really like fully watching, but he's there. And I'm fully into, oh yeah, life of ease? Absolutely. Absolutely. I want that life of ease. Adelia said that I don't need to eat vegetables. Absolutely. I want that
Oh
life. I
my!
don't
Yeah. Time out on that. Yeah. They got it up loud enough for us to hear. They got it up loud enough. We started out. I guess it was a progression for us. So we originally were considering downsizing. So we were considering, tiny house movement, and we went and looked at container homes, and we looked at tiny house models, and we considered places in the country that made tiny house living well, and then we considered the RV process, and we went out and looked at expensive RVs, and I said, I could buy a house, man. I don't want to find a place to park this. And we had talked Move Abroad for years because of her desire to do so. And I'm saying it that in that way, not because I didn't want to move abroad. It just, you don't conceptualize that. Life is here. This is what we're doing. You make that life work. And when she brought it up, I was like, okay, cool, but still trying to identify the difference between long-term traveling and moving.
Yeah.
You can get on a plane and land somewhere for 3 months, and then you're coming home, and get to a place where you're going, yeah, I don't know if I'm coming back here. And as we've reached this 50th year of life, we're like, I don't want to be retired trying to enjoy life. So what was the end motivator? What was that I've tripped over into? Okay, it's now or sooner than now.
Yeah. I would say, like y'all said before, we're so much like on the same path, same ideas, went through the same thing. We even purchased property to build on, the RV, the whole nine. But as for moving abroad, living overseas somewhere, I told my wife, I think it was like, what, 2005. I was in Rota, Spain, and I'm walking down, going to the beach, walking through the streets, and I hear my name called out. I'm like, hmm? And this guy walks out. And it's dark. It was getting dark, a little chilly, and he had this big fur coat on. I'm like, who is this? I don't know this stranger. And he took his hat off. Me and him were stationed together back in Norfolk, Virginia. And he retired and stayed overseas. Opened up a restaurant, a nightclub, the whole nine. So
Wow.
that kind of opened my eyes way back then, because I never really thought about it, unless you get stationed over there.
Right.
But doing it with your family, like outside of work, that was an eye opener. But just moving around, there's a lot of things we always talked about. Like, I wanted to shore, I want to take her here, we need to go there. And then it's just morphed where, okay, we did the RV thing for a couple years. Let's take this trip. Let's go to Africa. And when I say it's
like 30 days.
Yeah.
Like from the time because we talked about going to Rwanda, and then it just came closer and closer to the date that we set to go. And we hadn't booked any flights. We just kept saying, we're going to go this time period. And then we were like, okay, we got to buy the tickets. We have to actually buy the tickets to go. And so we bought the tickets, and then everything just kind of went fast after that. Bought the tickets, figured out how to travel during COVID, what the requirements were, how to schedule your test so it's that way it meets the 72-hour deadline, all these things that you had to figure out, during that time frame. And then we went, and it was such an amazing, eye-opening trip. And it showed me personally, like, I look forward to travel for community, because the lack of community here
Mhm.
in the States is difficult for me, because I really want that community with other Black women who are on the same path,
Mhm.
and it's hard to find here. So being able to go somewhere and meet other Black people who are also traveling, just so happen to be traveling, and have that community aspect of people from different um, points of their life, and they're just happened we all met in Rwanda and had brunch, and randomly. It was just so nice to experience, even though, they have different worldviews than I do, but it was nice to have that opportunity to see us exist outside of the US.
Okay.
Yeah. And then when we came back, before we came back, I told her, I was like, right now we're in the just like Wakanda. That's what it felt like. And it was like, when we come back, you're gonna see the difference. You're gonna feel it. Before anybody say anything, you will feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And we landed in New York.
Yeah, New York.
Oh my goodness. It was just
Like
like,
as soon as we landed, it was
wow.
just
This
straight
this is
downhill.
this is what we're back to, like
Oh,
coming
yeah.
back to reality.
hmm
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was just like, okay, yeah, it's time. Let's do it.
Yeah. We spent 2 weeks in Mexico working through our the end of our visa process. And when we came back, the next day I went out to run down to the local grocer to pick up some things from the store, and became strongly aware that I was the Black guy in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And I had only been gone 2 weeks. And I mean, it was just like, wow, I'm the minority again. It's not that, and it wasn't that I wasn't the only Black guy in Mexico, but I wasn't the only person of color standing around
Yeah.
as broadly as I was in that moment.
Yeah.
One of the things that on, I guess it was just before COVID, I got suggested, and I don't know what I was searching to have found Rashida Dow. Seeing her story, we had started seeing those. We had been watching those CNBC personal stories, and we had been following the financial independence retirement early videos
hmm
from that. And her video came up about moving abroad with the
Yep.
with the money she had in retirement. But something that she said in that video was the first time it hit in my heart. She said when she left the country, she had always enjoyed travel, and this extended sabbatical that she took before deciding to move abroad, she said, I like the person that I am when I'm away from the US more than I like the person that I am when I'm there.
Absolutely.
And that struck me because as a parent, you're wanting to be, fully intentional, fully engaged, and I really felt a sense, even as a mom who stayed home for 10 years, that I couldn't fully give myself to joy, to family engagement, to my partner
Yeah.
in a way that I felt like I could do when we were on vacation or taking some extended time away, which we had done, throughout our time together. But and then feeling that even with just that short amount of time in Mexico, just saying, I don't want. I want to have more power, more control over what I do and when I do it. Even though I know we are still, we still have the goals, the financial goals, the retirement goals. So, you know, um, so let's talk. We've shared about getting what it took to get to the point of wanting to go. What struck me about your experience was the consulate experience. So we both, we've our both of our families have chosen Mexico as the first place
Right.
to get residency.
Congratulations.
I was going to say,
Same to
because
you guys.
Same to you.
your first hurdle is trying to get that appointment,
Mm-hmm.
and the second hurdle is how many trees were downed
Oh,
Ooh.
at
to
least
get
20.
girl, yes,
At least 20.
because you have to do that. So once you overcome those initial ones, there's just, I don't know, and you can share, there was a lot of nervousness about making sure we had all the things, all the videos we watched,
Walk us through
walk
your
us
process.
through your process.
And give us both sides. Give us the state side and the
Conhay.
Conhay.
Oh, we haven't done the Conhay yet.
Okay,
That's the
okay.
next step. That's
Yeah.
the next step in
Okay.
the process. So we just did the consulate in the States.
Okay.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And we kind of made the decision in January to do the residency. I wish we would have done it last year, when the requirements were different, but we kind of like danced around it a little bit, didn't really know what the plan was, where we were going. And then we just finally just made a decision in January. And then that's when I started printing all the paperwork and everything and all of the documents, all of the receipts, the year's worth of statements.
Yeah.
I think that took me about a day to put together, not to mention, another day to go through it and make sure we had everything and print any missing documents. And then February 1st, because that's when the new appointments show up, the first of the month, I was on their website in the morning to try to get the best appointment I could possibly get for all three of us, because I didn't know, do I have to schedule 3 appointments or is it just 1 appointment?
Yeah.
There's no instruction, because I called the consulate to find out about our son to say, okay, do I need to schedule an appointment for him? And she was like, well, how old is he? I'm like, he's 19. Oh, he needs to call us back himself. I'm like, for what? He's a child in an adult body. Like, I can't have him call you.
Right.
He's still like, what am I supposed to do? Tell him, like, coach him on what to say? I just need to know, does he need an appointment? But she wasn't any help, so we had to schedule an appointment. But even that was difficult, because I was able to schedule mine and his appointment on my account,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got blocked.
Yeah. So I had to go.
So he had to create an account to schedule an appointment for our son.
Okay.
Where did you all decide to go?
We went to the Orlando consulate, thankfully. We listened to Rashida complain about Miami. So we went to Orlando, which is closer to us. We're in Jacksonville, so it's only like 2.5 hours.
Mhm.
And we left.
Florida.
Yeah. We left early in the morning, about 6:30 in the morning, to get there as early as possible, and got to the consulate around 9:30 and got in line.
Mhm.
And that's when the fun. I mean, it wasn't bad. It actually was real smooth experience.
Mhm.
But it was lines on both sides. So we standing there and just see people walk in and go straight to the front. Like, what's going on? And we finally made it up there, and really didn't know what to do. Seeing people go everywhere, and I'm looking. I'm like, I don't see what we really need. So we went to the window the lady pointed us to, and we paid. We didn't even know we were there for, but we paid, and it was like, okay, what are we paying for? We ain't even talking to nobody.
We paid first, so we paid first, because she just, everything's in Spanish. So she said something to us in Spanish and like just gestured with her hand. And so following the general direction
Mhm.
was the cashier window.
I knew window one. I'm like, okay, that's obviously window one. So
It was not window
no,
one.
it wasn't.
I was gonna say the payment was what we did second. We had the appointment and then we pay. So,
Yeah.
but you had your receipt to be able to take with you to the appointment. So
Did
Yeah.
that shorten the process for you with the interviewer?
No, actually,
No.
it was quick. It
Okay.
literally talking to the interviewer, it took like what, 15, 20 minutes,
Yeah.
maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And that was for all three of us.
Right.
Yeah.
Pictures, fingerprints,
Mm-hmm.
all the documents, have a seat. And they was having like a health fair there that day too.
Okay.
Oh,
So
nice.
it was really entertaining. Native speaker, she was speaking in I think Mayan or something.
Yeah, she was speaking an indigenous language, which
Yeah.
was nice to hear because it
So
sounds very different than Spanish. You know, you can recognize it right away that was not Spanish, but they were giving a presentation.
and then we became the presentation.
As the English
Yeah.
Americans, obviously, right there, not listening to the presentation.
And everybody standing up, and then they're like, "Oh, in English, could you please stand up?" Oh, sorry, wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. It was very
Yeah,
the Orlando
but-
consulate was so nice. The people there were so nice, so
Mhm.
helpful, very friendly. Just
Mhm.
honestly, it made the whole process extremely easy. Not as nerve-wracking. I thought I was like on 10 as far as anxiety, but it was not that bad.
I have
And then
family,
it's,
I have family in Orlando, and there's a very large Hispanic, Mexican Hispanic, and Cuban Hispanic population there.
yeah,
So
Yeah, what we kept saying was, I wish more American-based government offices worked this smoothly, this
Yes.
orderly. Like, wow, it was, and people felt helpful, along the process. So, the other the part that intrigued me about your story was that you were able to have your 19-year-old son, college student, to qualify. And I wanted to put that into
the YouTube universe.
the YouTube universe, because that was something we were trying to do, because he is literally like most people say, he's fully dependent, like you said. He lives with us. He is a college student. He was not working at the time. So what guidance were you able to get before going to the consulate, to bring with you, and what did that part of the interview look like, for your son?
Guidance, we didn't receive any.
No.
None.
Yeah.
So we were winging it. We had no idea what to expect with him. I just had to go into it thinking, what documents would prove that he's a dependent? So
Mhm.
we printed his school records. We brought his birth certificate to prove that he is our child.
Mhm.
I brought my marriage license because he was my child before we were married, and so I wanted to show the name change. Like, I'm thinking like a government person. How do I prove that he belongs to us?
School finances.
Yeah,
How's
school,
it paid?
like just anything that shows that he's a full-time student. I don't even think they looked at that. They didn't ask for it. They just asked us.
Yeah.
But I think because our income qualified and he was just a dependent under us, and I
Mhm.
can prove that he is a dependent of us, that was it. She just asked him a question like, what is he going to be doing in Mexico? And he's going to be a student online in the States, basically. And that was it. And she said that he would get temporary residency under us since we qualified for permanent.
Right.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
was very straightforward, very easy.
So you all have permanent, not temporary.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we have
that's been
permanent.
kind of iffy depending on which consulate you go to.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying, even though they meet the financial solvency for permanent, if you don't meet the retirement age, so that is very good to hear. So like from there, like where are you going? What are your next steps to align with your finishing your residency and making your move?
Well, our next steps, we're going to work with a facilitator once we get to Mexico. So I think we're going to go to San Miguel and work with Sonia Diaz. I think a lot of people are recommending Sonia, so we're going to work with her to help finish the part of the process in San Miguel. And we started looking at videos of San Miguel because first we were going to go to Mexico City, but you know, hearing people say it's a little bit difficult there as far as the consulate experience. I'm not sure. We said San Miguel, work with someone. Well, we visited Mexico City in December. It was great. We loved it. You know, that's the place we intend to stay long term. But I guess we'll be going to San Miguel first. To finish the part of the process.
Yeah, our original intention was to go to Puerto Vallarta and
to work with Sonia.
And the time frame shifted. So we actually flew to Puerto Vallarta, got on the next plane, flew to Mexico City. And
because we wanted to get our visa the same day. So we could do that because we had time constraints outside. If we didn't, then go wherever, because her guidance has been very beneficial to a lot of people.
So we weren't able to use her because we went to Mexico City. She didn't have anybody representing in Mexico City at the time. But we got there late that night, got up that morning, like before daybreak, got in line with our new facilitator, got through everything but the clearance process, which we came back and did the very next day. So it was actually not bad in Mexico City. Again, that was November. Disclaimer to anybody watching, that was November of 2022.
So much changes, so much changes. But it was
everything changes.
It was just a relief to know I'm just doing the last few things. I don't have to worry about financial solvency again. I don't, proving, I don't have to justify my reasons. Like, I have in my passport the permission that I need to request the temporary or permanent visa, like you guys are. So I hear that you all are saying spending some time in Mexico City is a part of your plan. So have you set your priority list for where you'd like to go? Because I was kind of tunnel vision. This is Chef, so I knew where he wanted to go. But like the more videos I watch, I'm just like, why are we not considering, this, Baja California? Why are we not considering, Mazatlan? Why are we not, I know I don't want to go to Merida because I don't like the heat. So, but I just feel like there's so many things. How are you guys setting up the priority for where you'd like to visit, or where you might find a place to settle?
So I'm gonna be honest. Mexico didn't even come up on my list on the top 5.
Wow.
I was gonna ask that question.
So my number 1 was going back to Thailand. Bangkok. One, I'm a foodie. I love to eat. And you can get everything. I mean, and I love Thai food. I'm working on my spice level right now. I'm still a little low, but I'm working on it.
Pick it up, bro. Pick it up.
She brought up Mexico. We started looking at a lot of stuff in Mexico, but it's so many places. And then December, I just woke up one day and I'm like, want to go to Mexico? Take a trip. And then we flew down to Mexico, and my first thought is, it might sound, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to put words on it.
Be honest.
Feel free to beat me up, but I'm like, me and Mexican food, nah, that's no bueno. Because here, it's terrible.
Yeah.
But when I got down there, oh my goodness.
Oh my, yeah. Yeah.
I
Wow.
think I ate like at least what 6, 7 times a day.
Yeah, we ate quite a bit. Of course we had to go have some tacos, and I don't even like onions. I can't do onions at all, but I had no problem eating onions down there. So I don't know what it is about the onions,
Yeah.
but I literally can't do onions here in the States. I pick them out, I give them to him, and that's who eats my onions. But there, I had no issue.
I'll, I'll,
No,
tell, I'll tell you and I'm using this word as a chef. I work in the culinary field. And the unprocessed foods, and that's a bigger statement than just packaged foods. That's also how
Yes.
food is produced and how it's grown.
mhm,
Unpackaged foods is a completely different effect on your body.
Yes.
Even here, I worked at a small preschool once, and had a child who was allergic to pineapples. She was allergic to canned pineapples.
mhm.
She wasn't allergic to pineapples. She was allergic to canned pineapples. How foods are packaged, how foods are processed. So when we were down, we were talking to some people earlier. When we were down in Mexico, we probably ate 2 to 3 times more food than we normally eat. But we didn't walk away from those meals feeling weighed down
No.
or bloated or full, even though we ate like too much food.
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. We
yeah,
ate a lot. But we walked so much. We walked like
Yeah.
everywhere.
Every
8,
Yeah,
9 miles a day, you know,
and enjoyed
loved
it.
it. It
Oh
was
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. My
great.
my walk meter was like, dude, you are. I was taking pictures. You are 128% past your goal, and yeah, 345% past your goal.
Right.
Yeah, that and those things balance out. That
Mhm.
made it real. I find it interesting you mentioned that Mexico wasn't on your top five. My initial my initial feel, and I still have some feels about it, is the motherland, is to places in Africa. I partially I need to visit because I want to dispel all
The huts.
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Just
The
yeah.
lions roaming around.
it's not the am I aware, is it progressed, it's not that progressive. It's the small things, can I connect, will it be safe, it'll be. And for me, it personal experience was a thing. Mexico, that was what made it real to me, was when my feet were on the ground.
Mhm.
Yes.
Up to that point, it was a conversation. We talked about it, we planned for it, we watched other people talk about it. I'm a real time person. So in Mexico, things were aha. Yeah.
Hmm.
When she was pregnant with the kids, it was okay. I see a belly. I hear about children. I read about it. When they got here, then I knew what to do. 'Cause now it makes sense. And that
Yeah.
was that process for me. Is there a disconnect in some? I know that you all have traveled more than we've had a chance to, but is there a disconnect sometimes between the reading and the going? Is that what made a
Yes.
difference once you on the ground?
Yes. I would say
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not as traveled as he is. A lot of my first travel experiences is since we've been married.
Okay.
So, like, I'm not, even though I have a parent who is from another country, my
Mhm.
mom's from Ethiopia, I am not traveled. I am Florida, born and raised, always been here, never gone anywhere. So, when we got married, that's when we really started taking trips, cruises, and things.
Mhm.
And the US really has good subliminal propaganda when it comes to other countries. And so
Yes.
even though they don't outwardly tell you,
Yes.
"Oh, this place is not developed, this place is run down," there's messaging that obviously implants in us to
Yes.
believe that. And I'm, sad to say, I had that idea in my head way back in the back about Mexico.
Mhm.
But when
Mhm.
we got there, I'm like,
What is
Yeah.
this?
it's better positioned than where
Yeah.
we live in Jacksonville. Like, I
Yeah.
can actually get places. I can
Yeah.
walk to places. In Jacksonville, if you don't have a car, you're not going anywhere.
Mhm.
You
Oh
have
yes.
to have a car here.
I used to live
But
there. I know.
yeah, I hate driving. So it was nice to walk and experience a city that was very, accessible. And accessible in the sense of you could walk to the cafe, you can walk to a restaurant, you can walk to a store. I left my sweater in the taxi cab, and the guy brought it back to me the next day. And it was just, very easy. But I was able to go out and get a sweater because it was chilly there. And so
Mhm.
we walked to Centro to a
Mm.
store, got me a sweater, and it was fine. But that's what I liked about it. And
Especially when my biggest thing was, I've been to multiple places,
mhm,
but when I'm with the wife or the family, I'm especially here. I'm always, she'll tell you, I'm running scenarios. I'm doing this. Okay, where are my exits? Okay, if this happens,
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
sir.
him.
I done broke it down to her before.
we can't go to Sam's without him being like, if a shooter happened right now, what would you do?
Ma'am,
And I'm
But
like,
there,
But
yes.
from my military background, from my law enforcement background, that's here. That's America.
Yes.
That don't
Yes.
be fooled,
Yes.
But when we go somewhere and we can walk down the street and I feel like I'm just a person. I'm not black,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we walk and then the guy just start talking to us, hey, blah, 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 this and this and this. And we just walking and talking. Not saying you just let your guards down totally,
Right.
Right.
but you feel just like a person, like, wow, this is what it's like.
no one's paying you
Yeah.
any real attention, but
Right.
also they're not paying you any hostility.
Mm.
And that's the difference. Is here you feel like if you're not having to be on guard from, the police and them paying you over scrutiny, you have to be on guard from certain people who feel like they can police you, because what are you doing here? Why are you here? You
Mhm.
don't belong here. Now I'm going to get the police to police you. Whereas being in a place that they're not really paying you attention and they're not othering you.
Mhm.
They're speaking to you in Spanish or they're speaking to you in Kinyarwanda because you look like you belong, which is a nice experience.
Yeah.
It took me a couple of days to not be in flinch mode, to not look over my shoulder. Like I said, I'm from Florida. I've lived in Jacksonville, Tampa, and Miami, so
Woo.
I have a completely different feel about what's over my shoulder. I was born up north, and my wife is from,
Good old South. I'm a
and
good Southern girl.
and so she has no problem walking down the street, and I'm going, "Why you know what time it is, girl?" And I'm walking, we took a ride. And it took me a little while to let my shoulder relax,
Yeah.
to realize that, okay. And again, like you said, not being complacent, not being,
Yeah.
necessarily comfortable, but being, my heart wasn't racing
Yeah.
just because it was 10 o'clock and we were the only two people on this street. My youngest son and I went out in the middle of the night to get something to eat, and was just as calm and relaxed in that little stroll. And again, like you said, it wasn't that we were ignored. It was that, nobody's paying attention. It was just people
You're
walking.
just two people.
Yeah, they weren't actively trying to ignore us,
Right.
which is the other side. It was
Right.
just like, oh, hey, okay, two people walking, they're walking, and that is invigorating. That's a breath of
Yeah.
fresh air.
It is. I think that adds years back to our life.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah. It makes that hairline stop moving so fast.
It used to be all black.
Yeah,
He keeps cutting it down,
I just
but
told myself,
Hey, I'm with you, brother.
I'm just gonna take it off because the forehead is
probably the question that that is keeping us from, let's see, so initially we were going to leave in 5 years, and then after this past Exodus Summit we said 2 years.
Mhm.
What would we keep saying, what is the one thing that we would need to have in place that would give just the two of us the ability to say go? And I think it's work. It's we don't have enough in savings to live off of savings. And I've done contract work, and it's good when it's good and it's not when it's not. And so even with a lower cost of living, which we are very thankful for, with at least starting in Mexico, are you all considering an earning plan? Is, you know, is that work? Is that an online business? What does that look like for you all as you, that'll make your landing soft and your desire to be abroad, to stay abroad?
Sustainable.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, on my end, I'm retired military,
Mhm.
so that's one chunk right there. 21 years of it. As for doing anything, I don't know. I never took a break. I've been at it since
Oh, yeah.
military, law enforcement. Now I'm back working for the government. Uh, Now I'm finna call it quits, and I'm gonna enjoy it for a while, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
But who knows? It's a lot of things that I'm into that I really enjoy doing. Pictures, playing around, editing videos, and just stuff for fun. So I don't know what I get into. I'm gonna try to stay away from aviation because I don't want to get beat up.
Yeah, let's not do that. I've lived through enough deployments that I don't want to do another deployment situation with job or anything like that. So, we're currently in our sabbatical phase. We have saved enough to, soft landing for us and kind of be okay.
Mhm.
Um, for the foreseeable future. I was a consultant just before this. I worked in mortgage servicing, and I want to take that back up maybe in a year's time, but I really want to figure out what I like to do
Mm.
and then focus on that because I'm good at consulting in mortgage,
Mhm.
but I'm just good at it. That's not a passion for me. It's just a job I needed because I had children and a family that I have to support.
Mhm.
So I just became an expert at certain things, and I don't necessarily want that to be my life, but if I have to, I can always do that.
And
Mhm.
that used to be one of our biggest things. What she just said, she's doing it because the kids, she have to.
Mhm.
Mm.
Me, on the other hand, I guess I'm one of the select few. I love what I did. I love flying airplanes and helicopters. It's a blast. It's like you never grew up from being a kid.
Mhm.
But the downside of that was it kept me away,
Mhm.
Mhm.
kept me going.
That was one of our things that we always had because in his mind, he thinks, just find a job you love. And I'm like, that's not normal. Normal people don't just work in careers they love. A lot of people work in a job that
Mhm.
pays them, and then they might find something that they love. You just happen to find a career that you loved and will pay you
Right.
very young,
Mhm.
when you're 17 joining the military. I needed a job that I was good at. And then I worked it for 21 years.
Mhm.
And now, you know, now that we're on our last child who needs to be a dependent, I can finally figure out what it is I like to do.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Finding that joy. I know um, the influence of Rashida Dow and Stephanie Delia Borjade had influenced the sabbatical that I took. And to hear my husband say, wow, I see the calm.
Mhm.
Wow. He was like, your eyes look clearer. You are, the sounds you make when you are asleep are so deep and restful. That break opened me up to saying, literally, my body will say no to things even before my mouth can say, I can't overbook myself anymore because of when you come off of doing the things that you have to do to doing only the things that bring you joy.
Mhm.
If you go back to that, it's like force
Yeah.
you have to force yourself. So
We sacrificed so long that it is imperative to me, important to me. It is vital to me that we are passion led at this part of our lives.
mhm,
Mhm.
Yes.
I don't want to be passionate at retirement.
Right.
Yeah.
I still have things to do while my knees can still walk up at least a flight of stairs.
Exactly.
I want to be passionate about it. And we've had vast careers from behavioral sciences to contracting to government work to Yes, now I'm a chef, but it's what I love to do.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
I know her heart's work has always been women's health. And I said, we'll sacrifice a little bit on this end, but that sacrifice on this end will be we downsized, sacrificed, and not we worked to our death to make sure the kids had this and that and
Right.
could go here and there and still cost us a lot.
Right.
And now we're gonna say we're that requires you to turn around then and repair those relationships because you don't realize the stress you brought into your home.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think the pandemic for me allowed me to really take stock in how I was as a parent
Oh yeah.
and really acknowledge
Oh yeah.
the stress and how it contributed to parenting.
Oh yeah.
Because my husband worked outside of the home, and when he was military and police, it was really primarily on me. But with the pandemic, it allowed me to slow down and really connect with the youngest who was here and be available to the older two and be a more present parent, which almost, would make me teary-eyed because I'm like, I wish I could have been this parent when they were little, but I'm this parent now, thankfully. It's not too late to still make sure I'm reconnected with my children. But the trip to Rwanda was the trip that told me, oh, I'm quitting in 6 months.
Mhm.
I'm quitting this job because I was working in corporate America before I was a consultant, and I was in a job I hated, with working for people I deeply disliked.
Wow.
And like, if I could use loathe, it's loathe. I loathed. And I was in such a stressful situation, taking the 3 weeks to go to Rwanda and finally feeling peace on a vacation. I told him, I said, in 6 months, I'm quitting because I'm strategic. I'm a strategic person. So I can't just up and quit. But it's like in 6 months, I'm quitting because you don't get your 401k contribution unless you're there December 31st.
There you go.
So I had to be there in January
Mhm.
in order to get that 401k. And come January, I quit. And but that trip to Rwanda is what opened my eyes. And I had just found Rashida and Stephanie and Adelia, and that the fact that they were reinforcing the idea of ease and I deserved it
Mhm.
really helped me get to that point of saying I can quit. I don't need to work here. And these people are not serving me.
Mhm.
And I did. And then I quit, took like a month off, and happened upon a consulting position that doubled my pay
Mhm.
and did that for I'm like, "Oh, I love doing consulting." Not saying I wanna do mortgage servicing, but I like being my own person
Mhm.
and not working for a company.
Yeah.
And that opened a whole realm for me to explore.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking forward to as far as, like, just exploring these different options that now I feel like are finally opening up for me that I didn't know was available.
I know looking back on it, hearing all the frustration, her calls during the day and when she got home, just the frustration. I
Mhm.
don't know, at one point I told her, "Hey, baby, just let it go. Just
Mhm.
you
Said,
don't need that.
said
Just
that
stay
too.
at the house."
Mhm.
But I know her and just the unknown. Like you said, she gotta prep, she's gotta prepare for it.
Yes.
I'm me on the other hand, I'm like, okay, I know what my worth, I know my skill set, on to the next.
Yeah. Tell it.
And finally, she's like, okay, we go to Rwanda, and that was it. And I'm like, okay, good. Nobody can tell you when it's time. You know for yourself.
Mhm.
But to see that light and that energy back in her, it was refreshing. So now it's my turn.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know,
Uh,
I know we we're winding our conversation to a point where we wanted to give you guys an opportunity to kind of share anything that you felt like you wanted to say in this space around, is it doable as a couple? Is it beneficial to your relationship, with each other, to your family? I know you've spoken on that, but I mean,
Speak
I
to
know
us.
because I know what it's doing
Mhm.
for our relationship now. We're not just getting the benefit of what's going to happen when we have more time and more money and more space and more ease, but just aligning your minds together and leaning in together is having a benefit for us on this side. What are you taking from this process as a couple, as you are like in lockstep together in this move?
Well, I think for us, we are entering this new phase of like empty nester or almost empty nester because we're still traveling with our youngest.
Mhm.
And now we have to spend that time to reconnect with each other as outside of being parents and being a couple with each other. And I think it gives us an opportunity to reignite a lot of what has been missed over the years from like the part of your life that feels like you're doing chores. Like,
Mhm.
okay, I got to take the kid to school. We have to cook dinner. Got to go to the grocery store. Got to pay bills. Rinse and repeat. Got to go to work. And that part of the process. And now that a lot of that has stopped, it's just us. And now we have to figure out who is this person sitting next to me.
Absolutely.
And we're working, on that aspect of our marriage. And I think traveling gives us the opportunity to explore us in different avenues and relearn each other. The other thing is it gives our kids a chance to see that this is possible.
Mhm.
They can travel too.
Mhm.
And my parents did it. It's normal.
Mhm.
I was telling my mom the other day that, I never, my kids never lived in an apartment. We've
Mhm.
always lived in a house because I grew up in a house. And
Mhm.
it's those little small things that you don't really think about. It's like, that's normal for them. And so I want our children to see travel as normal for them. My parents did it. So obviously I can do it. Our oldest, our girl, she travels more often. But the middle, our oldest son, he already is talking about when we get to Mexico, he will be showing up on his next vacation.
Mhm.
And so, they're already thinking about coming and visiting us. My mother's already talking about coming and seeing us and making sure we have her room ready. And so it's just, I look forward to the new phase because this is a new phase. We're going through this changing of relationships with friends and family,
Oh yeah.
making new friends, losing friends,
Oh yes.
disconnecting from family, reconnecting with family, and reconnecting with us. I think that's where we are right now.
Yeah, I think it drives like a mandatory new style of communication.
Oh
You
yeah.
have to learn the little things. You have to learn, oh, let's talk about this. Let's discuss this. Things that we usually in our day-to-day life here, because we're so accustomed to just making it happen,
Mhm.
take it for granted. Um, it's it's exciting because you have to go through it together. Because if you try to do it as a group, as a couple, I think, but separate independently, I
Mhm.
don't think it's going to turn out too well. It
Mhm.
might cause more problems because you're just going to carry whatever you didn't fix or talk about to the new spot.
Yeah.
That.
And it's going to get amplified
Hmm.
because now
We're both
you have nothing but
anxious.
time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's new, it's fun. Uh, I like it. I know she's like she has to be prepared. It has to be talked about and this and that. But
I want to talk about everything. Let's
Yes.
talk about all the things. Who's
Yes.
going to do the navigation? Who's going to have the Google Maps? Well, we're going to plan.
And,
I need
and,
to
and I,
plan
you know what?
everything.
I need to say, I think a part of being male is spontaneity. I think a
yes,
part of being male is I want to experience it in real time. But as husbands, we also recognize the safety of plan.
yes,
And as a couple, we're learning to balance the two. I need you to experience this because we're going to see whatever. But at the same time, we need to make sure the affairs are in order to be able to do whatever.
I
Mhm.
And
think Sorry to cut
Go
you
ahead, go
off.
ahead.
I'm
Go ahead.
sorry. I just want to say, I think that one thing that's always a disconnect when it comes between couples trying to have this conversation of why maybe we are less spontaneous in our planning is safety.
Mm-hmm.
Women, Black women, are not safe to just be spontaneous. And so we have to know where we're going, what time we're going to get there, and what time we're going to leave. And so that's just that ingrained aspect. I get so irritated when we go to the grocery store because he likes to park way out. And I'm like, this is not a safe place to park. But I'm with him, so I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just like, if I can't park as close to the door as possible, I'm not going. That's the day I'm not going to the grocery store because I need to be as close to the door as possible. And I think that's part of why we're so over planned and like to know how things go, and they like to go with the flow.
And I think it's because we see safety in two different facets.
That's it. I was gonna jump on it, but I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm gonna...
it's because we see safety in spaces. We're always looking over our shoulders. We sit out with our backs to the wall because we want to be safe.
Yeah.
A lot of times, that parking far away is a part
I
of
get
the safety plan.
I get to
When
see
you're
everything.
alone, we want you to park as close as possible. But
Exactly.
when you're with us, we need to be further away because we need more room to run if something goes wrong.
And she can
It's two different concepts.
and she can tell you when she's at the grocery store by herself. I usually call.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, how's everything? You good?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
It's just, or if you need me, let me know.
Yeah.
I'll be on my way. You
Yeah.
know, so it's
It's
like you said, it's two different
yeah.
takes on it, but
It's not that we're not planning because we want to be unsafe. It's you get used to the flow. We also have to be careful with the fact that we get used to the fact that you all do a lot of it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
I told
guilty
him
of
that the other day because he's like, I like to go with the flow. And I'm like, yeah, I'm the ocean, you're the boat. So you're just going with the flow. But if I decided to be still, where are you going?
And that can cause friction. But in our process, not to belabor, but I didn't think he was hearing me when, we were talking through the Conhay process. I'm sharing what I'm understanding. I've got stuff organized. Everybody has a packet, everybody's information. I'm double, triple checking before we leave the house at 3:30 a.m. for our flight. We get there and the paperwork gets mixed somehow. And I'm freaking out. And he says, hand me the folder. The trust you have to show when nobody's speaking English here. Did you hear anything I was saying before? It's opening new doors.
Yeah.
Finding, and we've been together 30 years. I mean, like, is there anything I don't know about you? It's the new experiences
Right.
that are binding not just our past, but it is now knitting us into this new future together.
I was able to pop my collar because I knew what was going on.
And he was like, babe, it was just, you were looking at this sheet and it really was more organized than I gave it credit for.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, I want control. And that is why I over research, why I have to plan. I'm on Google Maps. I want to know a place. I want to have an option A, an option B, an option C, and an option D because of that. But what I realized is that I have to give and recognize that with a partner that is an added advantage, and I don't have to do it all alone. And when I do, it devalues my partner's place and space in a process. So, I mean, I love putting out that couples are doing this, that they're finding new ways at different points in their lives, whether they have young kids or like us, where We're about to be free, free, free indeed. We've done the child rearing, we're launching our children, and that this is the fruit of that of this adult journey together. We're ready to move into the next part of our lives.
It has
Yeah,
been
same
it
here.
has been a blast getting to meet our twin couple.
I know, right?
I swear we walked on driven
Yeah.
the same car in the last year.
Yeah.
I appreciate, I want to thank you openly for spending this time with us, for taking this little conversational journey with us about uh, this venture to step outside this little space we've called home, to potentially finding our true homes, and to see a young, beautiful couple doing it together. I'm proud of you. It's been a pleasure meeting you.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Nice
Yes.
meeting you as well. We're gonna have to get together, Danica,
Absolutely.
because we're on the same page on.
We are too. So don't.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
Oh yeah.
we're so glad to have H&D Abroad as a vehicle to have our Exodus life as one more channel that is creating synergy around Black Exodus, around Black couples that are making moves to move into a better quality of life and leverage our ability to be in places that bring us joy.
I
So,
encourage you to log
Yeah.
on to their page, subscribe to our Exodus Life, encourage them, support them, and do the same for us. We're okay too. So all those in the future, we hope to see you soon. Thank you for visiting H&D Abroad.
absolutely. Bye bye for now.